Lass uns mit einem Gebet anfangen. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this morning.
Lieber himmlischer Vater, ich danke dir für diesen Morgen.
And that your mercy is new every morning.
Und dass deine Gnade jeden Morgen neu ist.
And that you also now want to communicate to us your light in our hearts.
Dass du auch jetzt dein Licht in unser Herzen vermitteln möchtest.
And please help us that we would receive it and that our faith would develop.
Und hilf uns, dass wir es erhalten und dass unser Glaube sich entwickeln kann.
And that we can learn new lessons also out of the book of nature and your word.
Und dass wir dann neue Lehren aus dem Buch der Natur und auch aus deinem Wort lernen können.
And please bless us all that are here and also those that are watching.
Und bitte segne uns, die wir hier sind und auch diejenigen, die zuschauen.
And also Brother Mark, that he can relay the thoughts clearly.
Und auch Bruder Mark, dass er die Gedanken klar darlegen kann.
In Jesus' name, amen.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I've posted the notes in the live stream.
Also ich habe die Notizen in den Livestream gepostet.
Okay, so let's begin by going to Isaiah chapter 40,
Fangen wir an, indem wir zu Jesaja 40 gehen,
verse 21.
Vers 21.
It says, "Have ye not known, have ye not heard, hath it not been told you from the beginning, have ye not understood from the foundation of the earth?" So this verse here is pointing us to the creation week.
Und dieser Vers hier, der weist uns auf die Schöpfungswoche hin.
It's pointing us to the when the Lord set up the earth and the heavens.
Und das weist uns darauf hin, als der Herr die Erde und den Himmel aufgerichtet hat.
And from that time he's saying, have ye not understood?
Und von dieser Zeit sagt er, habt ihr nicht verstanden,
Have ye not known?
habt ihr nicht erkannt,
Have ye not heard?
habt ihr nicht gehört.
So what is it that he's referring to?
Auf was bezieht er sich?
Yes,
Geheime Dinge.
but if you just go to Psalms 19,
Gehen wir zu Psalm 19,
just remind us at this point.
um uns zu erinnern an diesen Punkt.
Verse 1.
Ja, Vers 1.
It says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard." So when you go back to Isaiah 40 and verse 21,
Also gehen wir jetzt nochmal zurück zu Jesaja 40 und Vers 21.
it says, "Have ye not known, have ye not heard, hath it not been told you from the beginning, have ye not understood from the foundation of the earth?" So what is it they've not heard?
Also was haben sie nicht gehört? Language of the stars.
Yeah, the language of the stars,
Also
right?
die Sprache der Sterne.
That the stars, right, the sun, the moon, the stars have been speaking to them, right?
Also die Sonne, der Mond und die Sterne haben zu ihnen gesprochen.
It says they go out through the whole earth,
Und
right?
sie gehen raus zur ganzen Welt.
There's no language, no people that they're not speaking to,
Also
right?
da ist keine Sprache noch Volk, zu denen sie nicht sprechen.
Okay, so verse 22.
In Vers 22.
It is he that sitteth upon the what?
Wo sitzt er?
The circle of the earth, right?
Im Kreis der Erde.
So when those stars were placed in the heavens to declare his glory,
Also als diese Sterne in den Himmel gesetzt wurden, um seine Herrlichkeit zu verkünden,
it was speaking about Christ, right?
Sprach über Christus.
Because it says, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Now what's it doing?
Was macht es jetzt?
It's like a comparison with the sanctuary.
Yes.
Also es ist ein Vergleich mit dem Heiligtum.
So it's saying that what you're looking at up there, it's Christ sitting in his tent, it says, right?
Und es sagt, was ihr da oben seht, das ist wie Christus in seinem Zelt sitzt.
Is that not what it says?
Sagt es das nicht?
Right? So, the heavens are likened unto a curtain, and it's a tent where he dwells in, right?
Die Himmel werden verglichen mit einem Vorhang und es ist ein Zelt, in dem wohnt.
So what I've done here is I've just, here's the circle of the earth,
Also,
right?
was ich gemacht habe, hier ist dieser Kreis der Erde,
So let's put here circle.
also Kreis.
And it says that he's sitting on it, right?
Es sagt, dass darauf sitzt.
Okay, so you've got these three heavens, right?
Wir haben ja diese drei Himmel.
And he stretches out the heavens like a curtain to dwell in,
Und
right?
streckt die Himmel aus wie ein Vorhang, und um darin zu wohnen.
So here is the earthly sanctuary.
Und hier ist das irdische Heiligtum.
It also has three parts to it,
Und
right?
es hat auch drei Teile dazu.
Right? So we see the correlation, right?
Da können wir den Zusammenhang sehen.
Okay, so let's go to Exodus 25 and
Gehen,
verse 8.
gehen wir zu 2. Mose 25 in Vers 8.
It says, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may what? Dwell among them, right? According to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall he make it, right? So it was to be made according to the pattern, right?
Also es sollte gemäß dem Muster gemacht werden.
Okay, so this is the pattern, right?
Und das hier ist ja das Muster.
Right? Because he says that this is stretched out like a tent to dwell in, right?
Und er sagt, dass das eben ausgestreckt ist wie ein Zelt, um darin zu wohnen.
Right?
Amen.
Okay, so go to Exodus 26 and verse 14.
Gehen wir zu 2. Mose 26 und Vers 14.
It says, and thou shalt make a what?
Was sollst du machen?
A covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badger skins. Okay, so go to verse Exodus 26 and verse 1.
Gehen wir zu 2. Mose 26, Vers 1.
It says, moreover, thou shalt make a tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work thou shalt make them. And verse 31.
Und Vers 31.
And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work, with cherubims shall it be made. And verse 36.
Vers 36.
And thou shalt make a hanging for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen, wrought with needlework. Okay, and when we go to this quote, we read this yesterday.
Gehen wir zu diesem Zitat, das haben wir gestern gelesen.
It says, the building was divided into 2 apartments by a rich and beautiful curtain, or veil, suspended from gold-plated pillars, and a similar veil closed the entrance of the first apartment. These what?
Also diese, also was?
These 2 veils,
Diese
right?
zwei Vorhänge.
These, like the inner covering, which formed the ceiling, were of the most gorgeous colours, blue, purple, and scarlet, beautifully arranged, while inwrought with threads of gold and silver were cherubim to represent the angelic host. Right? So we've looked at this before. So basically, here is the covering, right?
Wir haben uns das schon angeschaut. Also hier ist diese Bedeckung.
There's these two doors.
Hier sind diese zwei Türen.
Okay, and the covering, the curtains, and the hangings, they're all covered in these angelic host.
Und
Right.
diese Bedeckungen und Vorhänge und ja, die sind alle, ich weiß nicht, ob ich, oder hätte ich noch was vergessen? The
Oh.
curtains,
No, the covering, the curtains, and the veils.
curtain ist doch dasselbe wie vor, oder?
No. Covering.
Yes, Bedeckung, and then the curtain.
No, curtains are what's hanging along here.
Yes, but in German it's the same.
Decke.
No,
Ah, die Decke, okay.
a veil is what.
Bedeckung.
Also die Bedeckung, die Decke und die Vorhänge.
Did Moses have a curtain over his face?
Äh,
What do you say for what Moses had over his face?
okay.
Bedeckt.
Okay, that's the same. That's what that is,
Okay.
right? Remember when the veil is taken away, so it's not a curtain, right? Okay, so that's why when man tampers with God's word, it's not good because translation's not good. Okay,
So they were, I didn't translate, they were all with cherubim.
yes.
Also die Decke, die Bedeckung und die Vorhänge waren alle eben mit Cherubim bestickt.
Okay, so and we don't need to go into that, but the clouds are likened unto what?
Und da müssen wir nicht hineingehen, aber diese Wolken, sie werden mit was verglichen?
Sorry,
Water.
cherubims,
Mit Cherubim.
right?
Yes.
Okay, they're the angels,
Die
right?
sind die Engel.
The angels are the ones that give the water, right?
Die Engel sind diejenigen, die das Wasser geben.
Okay, but it's right, it is his water, right? So, but the point is that this line of clouds is paralleling this this veil, right?
Aber der Punkt ist eben, dass diese Wolken, sie sind parallel mit diesem Vorhang.
They represent the angels that are guarding the way into the holy place,
Sie
right?
stellen die Engel dar, die den Weg zum Heiligen bewachen.
Because who's allowed to enter into the holy place?
Weil wem wird erlaubt, in das Heilige einzutreten?
It's written in the name.
Es ist im Namen geschrieben.
Holy people, right?
Also heilige Leute.
So, and on the way, it represents also the gate to the Garden of Eden, which was eastward, right?
Und man stellt auch dieses Tor da von dem Garten Eden, der im Osten lag.
Right? It was on the east side, and the angels were there guarding the way, the entrance into the garden,
Das
right?
war die Ostseite und die Engel, die haben diesen Weg bewacht, also den Eingang zum Garten.
What was also on the door of Solomon's temple?
Und was war auch bei der Tür von Salomos Tempel?
Those cherubims, what else was on the door?
Da waren Cherubim und was war noch dort?
Yes, the flowers and others, it was the way into the garden, right?
Also diese Blumen und die Bäume, das war also dieser Weg in den Garten.
Right? Okay, so so we see the correlation. The sun, the moon, and the stars are there to reflect God's glory. They represent the holy people, or the cherubims that are ministers to God's people.
Also wir können sehen, dass die Sonne, der Mond und die Sterne, sie reflektieren Gottes Herrlichkeit und sie stellen eben diese Engel dar, die Diener sind für Gottes Volk.
Because angels are ministers, right?
Weil die Engel sind ja Diener.
And this is what we read in Psalm 19. What was these things doing?
Und deswegen in Psalm 19, was haben diese Dinge getan?
They are speaking,
Sie haben
right?
gesprochen.
They are the ministers speaking throughout the earth,
Sie
right?
sind die Diener, die durch die ganze Erde sprechen.
Holy ministers, right?
Heilige Diener.
Okay. And then above that, in the third heaven, you have the throne of God sitting above it all, right?
Und darüber hat man im dritten Himmel den Thron Gottes und das sitzt dann über allen.
Okay. So let's go now and look at his throne. Psalm 97, verse 2.
Und schauen wir uns jetzt seinen Thron an in Psalm 97, Vers 2.
It says, "The clouds and darkness are round about him." So when you look up into space, what do you see?
Also wenn du in das Weltall reinschaust, was siehst du dann?
Yeah, just deal with what we've just read here. Which,
Clouds and stars.
yes, but Okay, we've already dealt with the angels. The darkness, that's what you see, right? It's dark up in space, right?
Also man sieht diese Dunkelheit, es ist dunkel dort im Weltall.
If it wasn't for the sun, the moon and the stars, there would be no light at all up there, right?
Also wenn die Sonne, der Mond und die Sterne dort nicht wären, dann gäbe es dort gar kein Licht.
Okay, so clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne, right? So the throne is surrounded by angels and this big dark space, right?
Der Thron, der ist umgeben von Engeln und diesem großen dunklen Weltall.
Okay, so go to Acts chapter 1,
Gehen wir zur Apostelgeschichte 1,
verse 9.
Vers 9.
And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. What received him?
Was hat ihn aufgenommen?
A cloud,
Eine
right?
Wolke.
And while they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So how did he go into heaven?
Also wie ist er in den Himmel gegangen?
Okay, is everybody else?
Der Wolke.
They saw him go up on a cloud,
Also sie haben ihn gesehen, wie er auf einer Wolke aufgefahren ist.
right? Okay, seems doesn't matter. Go to Revelation chapter 1,
Gehen wir zur Offenbarung 1
verse 7.
und Vers 7.
It says, Behold, he cometh with clouds. What's he coming with?
Mit was kommt er?
Why is he coming with clouds?
Und warum kommt er mit Wolken?
Right, because it says that he's going to come back the same way that he went up, right?
Weil es sagt, er wird zurückkommen auf dieselbe Art und Weise, wie er aufgefahren ist.
Okay, and if you go to Jude chapter 1,
Gehen wir zu Judas
or
1
Jude, it's only got one chapter, verse 14.
und Vers 14.
It says, And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints. So, John says, Behold, he cometh with clouds, and Jude says what?
Also Johannes sagt, siehe, er kommt mit den Wolken, und was sagt Judas?
Behold, he cometh with 10,000 of his saints.
Siehe,
Right?
er kommt mit Zehntausenden seiner Heiligen.
So the clouds represent his saints.
Also
Right?
die Wolken stellen seine Heiligen dar.
Right? Okay. And there's 10,000, right?
Und das sind Zehntausende.
Okay. Go to and doesn't matter. 10,000s, right? So it's plural, right?
Also das sind Zehntausende, also Plural.
Hebrews chapter 12.
Hebräer 12, Vers
It's-
1.
Says, Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. What are we surrounded by?
Also von was sind wir umgeben?
A cloud of witnesses.
Einer
Right?
Wolke von Zeugen.
Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So when are you surrounded by a cloud of witnesses?
Also wann bist du mit einer Wolke von Zeugen umgeben?
When you start the race, right?
Wenn du anfängst, also das Rennen anfängst.
Why are you surrounded by them?
Warum bist du durch sie umgeben?
Yes, because you're in this, you've gone into the holy place, right?
Weil du jetzt da bist, also du bist ja in das Heilige eingetreten.
Right? Yes, Margaret? Yes. Okay. Right, so now let's go to the next quote from pamphlets 66.
Gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat von PH 66.
It says, A cloud of witnesses is around you. The heavenly intelligences look upon you, and the evil angels are also spectators of your actions. The Prince of Life is watching to see if those who have had such great light and so much knowledge will practice what they have been taught, and help those who have been connected with them in the work to walk in the light as Christ is in the light. So when you enter through into this sphere, right, into here,
Wenn du hier eintrittst in diese Sphäre, also hier,
both the holy angels and the evil angels are watching, right?
dann werden sowohl die heiligen Engel als auch die bösen Engel dich beobachten.
They're going to see if you're going to practice what the Lord has taught you.
Und sie
Right.
werden schauen, ob du das praktizierst, was der Herr dich gelehrt hat.
And how did the Lord teach you?
Und wie hat der Herr dich gelehrt?
What did he use to teach you?
Was hat er benutzt, um dich zu lehren?
Yeah, the schoolmaster, right?
Ein Schulmeister, die Typen.
So when you're in here, you're now as the angels, right?
Also wenn du hier drin bist, dann bist du jetzt so wie die Engel.
So you're now to be as the angels and reflect the light.
Und du
Right?
sollst jetzt wie die Engel sein und das Licht reflektieren.
So you're surrounded by this cloud of witnesses, right, that are watching you.
Umgeben von dieser Wolke an Zeugen, die dich beobachten.
Everybody see that?
Können Sie da sehen?
Okay, now go to Ezekiel 1 and verse 1.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Hesekiel 1 und Vers 1.
It says, Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Sheba, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. What was opened?
Was war geöffnet?
Right.
Der
So
Himmel.
now this revelation here typifies the second coming of Christ, right?
Und diese Offenbarung hier, sie schattet ja die Wiederkunft Christi voraus.
So how are the heavens opened?
Also wie sind die Himmel geöffnet?
Just think of the second coming of Christ. How are the heavens opened?
Also denkt an die Wiederkunft Christi. Wie sind die Himmel geöffnet?
Yes, like a scroll. What does that mean?
Also wie eine Buchrolle. Und
What's
was
it referring
bedeutet
to?
das?
What does it mean when the heavens are opened like a scroll? What's it talking about?
Was bedeutet das, wenn die Himmel geöffnet sind wie eine Buchrolle?
If you were to look up in the heavens and the heavens were opening as a scroll, what would you see?
Also wenn du aufschaust in den Himmel und die Himmel werden geöffnet wie eine Buchrolle, was würdest du sehen?
The clouds.
Und
It says the clouds are being rolled back,
also
right?
die Wolken, die werden weggerollt.
So what are you going to see?
Was wirst du dann sehen?
All this, right? The sun, the moon, and the stars,
Das
right?
die Sonne, der Mond und die Sterne.
He's going to reveal. He's going to, because okay, we'll come to it. So you're outside of this, right?
Also du bist außerhalb von dem hier.
Ezekiel's outside of this at this point, right?
Hesekiel ist außerhalb
And
zu diesem Zeitpunkt.
What this Ezekiel? What was he called?
Und wie wurde Hesekiel genannt?
The morning prophet, right?
Der klagende Prophet.
Not the morning prophet, the morning prophet,
Also nicht
right?
der Morgenprophet, sondern der klagende Prophet.
He's mourning, right?
Also hat geklagt.
He's sighing and crying,
Hat geweint und geklagt.
day and night,
Tag
right?
und Nacht.
Confessing his sin
Und seine Sünde
and the
bekannt.
sin of his people.
Und die Sünden seines Volkes.
In the sanctuary, where would you do that?
Und im Heiligtum, wo würdest du das tun?
Speak up, David.
The altar is.
Yes, between the porch and the altar,
Also
right?
zwischen der Säulenhalle und dem Altar.
That's where you bring the sacrifice,
Und da
right?
bringst du ja das Opfer.
Okay, so he's outside of this, right? And he's sighing and crying day and night, right?
Also er ist außerhalb davon und er weint und klagt dann Tag und Nacht.
So when the clouds part, what is also parting?
Also wenn die Wolken sich teilen, was teilt sich dann auch noch?
The veil,
Der
right?
Vorhang.
So the veil is drawn back,
Der
right?
Vorhang ist jetzt weggezogen.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So go to
Just one point, because I just want to make sure that there's no false thoughts in the mind, because I know that you probably mean it in the right way, but it says the scroll, I mean, you explained it correctly, the scroll is rolled together, it's not opened, it's the exact opposite. Because it says here, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. And when you open the scroll, you actually roll it out. So it's,
can't be closing the scroll.
it says here, and the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. So when you roll something together, you roll it together.
Well, if the clouds are departing, right, they're not going together. They're. How can he open the heavens when he's closing it? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense to say a roll, when you open it, you roll it
No,
out.
no,
You
no,
don't
no,
roll it-
Lawrence. It's opening the heavens, not closing it.
No, it says basically this curtain will be rolled back. That's what it's referring to. And then,
Yeah. So it's been opened, right?
yeah, but not the scroll. The scroll is rolled back, it's this curtain that is drawn away. So it's not, because when you roll out the scroll, then you open it, you stretch it out.
It doesn't matter. It's still marking it's been opened, right? Remember, the judgment is said and the books are opened. So the scroll's also been opened, because the flying roll is a scroll.
Yes, but in this illustration,
Okay, it doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. The point, the picture that you need to get in your head is that the heavens are being opened, right? So, but if you take it from what you're saying, it would be being closed.
go with what it says here.
Lawrence, that's not an argument. You've got to bring line upon line together. The judgment is said and the books are what? Opened. And the books are a scroll. So the scroll has been opened.
Yes,
Okay, then you can't make that argument then.
I can make it because
No,
it
no,
says-
you
it
can't
says
make it. No, because you're taking... How can the clouds be opened but the scroll be closed?
Clouds are rolled back, it says, right? So
Okay, so they're being opened.
this is in harmony with that, what it says here.
Okay, I think this is a really silly argument, right? The point is...
So how can you see something when the veil is actually spread out instead of taken away? So,
it says that the clouds are rolled back.
yes, and that's what it says here.
So they're being
Heavens
open.
depart as a scroll when it's rolled together. It's very clear English to understand.
I'm not denying that, but the point that I want to see is that it's been opened. You're saying it's been closed. Now that's completely false.
I just want to go with the illustration. I mean,
So the illustration is I'm saying that the clouds are being rolled back. Why are you arguing that?
yeah. No. I just argue with what it's being brought together. When it says the scroll is being opened, it's a different illustration than when it says the scroll is rolled together. That's all I'm
No,
pointing on here.
I don't believe that. Can't be what you're thinking it's meaning, right? Because line upon line they must be in agreement. There can't be two scrolls.
But one time open and one time closed.
Yes, but this is marking the same point, right?
Yes.
The judgment is said and the books are what? Opened. And at both the executive judgment and the investigative judgment, the book is opened, it's not closed.
Yeah, but you also need to consider this. So I just want to make the point that when you say the clouds are rolled back, then it's referring to this.
The clouds are rolled back so that you can see something. They're being opened.
Yeah, that's-
Then therefore the scroll is also an illustration of something that's been opened.
Okay, no, just go ahead. I don't want to argue now. It's
Right.
written here, but
I know what is written there, but I'm saying that line upon line, you've got to bring all the evidence together. It's showing you that something has been opened, right? We will come to this point in a second. Go to Ezekiel 1, verse 5.
Shall I translate this?
No, just let's go on. We're not getting into this.
Gehen wir zu Hesekiel 1
And verse 5.
und Vers 5.
It says, also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was the appearance, they had the likeness of a man. So, in Ezekiel 1:1 it says the heavens were what? Opened,
In
right?
Hesekiel 1, Vers 1 sagt es, die Himmel wurden geöffnet.
And he sees something,
Und
right?
sieht etwas.
It says, and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the colour of burnished brass. So how were their feet?
Also wie waren ihre Füße?
Just read what it says. How are their feet?
Wie waren ihre
What do
Füße?
they look like?
Wie sahen sie aus?
Cars.
Yes, but what else?
Feet were straight.
Schwarz.
They're like burnished brass, right?
Also sie waren wie, was ist das, burnished?
Shiny. It's been something that's been
Also poliert, ja.
shined up.
Polierte
Yeah,
Bronze.
polished would be the right word, right? So verse 8.
Vers 8.
And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. Okay, so when you, how many cherubims is there?
Wie viele Cherubime sind da?
There's 4, right?
4.
And their wings are joined together, right?
Und ihre Flügel sind zusammen verbunden.
So we've done this illustration before. There's 4 cherubims and they stretch their wings out and you make like a square, right?
Und wir haben diese Darstellung schon mal gemacht. Das sind 4 Cherubim und ihre Flügel sind zusammen verbunden und dann sieht das aus wie ein Viereck.
And what did we understand that that's a representation of?
Und was haben wir verstanden? Für was ist das eine Darstellung?
What's it illustrating?
Was stellt es dar?
The corners of the earth.
Die 4 Ecken der Erde.
What does the Lord sit upon?
Also auf was sitzt der Herr?
What is 4 square?
Was ist viereckig?
Sitting.
The temple,
Also
right?
der Tempel, die Stadt.
So it illustrates the holy temple, right?
Also es stellt diesen heiligen Tempel
We
dar.
looked at this some time back.
Wir haben das vor einiger Zeit mal
I mean,
angeschaut.
it's not wrong that it's also for also of the earth.
Just
That's the
look,
firmament is
look,
of them.
that's the firmament, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the angels, there's the cherubim, right? So, and the Lord sits where? On the circle of the earth, right?
Das ist das Firmament und hier sind diese 4 Engel, also die Cherubim, und der Herr sitzt auf dem Kreis der Erde.
Okay, just let's follow the pattern, right?
Also folgen wir dem Muster.
Verse 10.
Vers 10.
It says, as for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man and the face of a lion, and on the right side they 4 had the face of an ox, on the left side they 4 also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined to one another, and 2 covered their bodies. Right? So, I don't know if it mentioned this. No, go to verse 26.
Gehen wir zu Vers 26.
It says, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne. So the firmament referred to here is this firmament, right?
Also das Firmament, was hier sich darauf bezieht, ist dieses Firmament.
So here's the firmament, right?
Also hier ist das Firmament.
Okay, because there's more than one firmament, but the firmament mentioned here is this one, because that's what's over the head of the cherubims, right?
Also weil es gibt mehr als ein Firmament und das, was hier erwähnt wird, das ist das hier, weil das ist über den Häuptern der Cherubim.
Now, and we have a second witness. Where's the throne?
Und wir haben einen zweiten Zeugen. Wo ist der Thron?
Most holy.
In the most holy place,
Im
right?
Allerheiligsten.
In the third heaven,
Im
right?
dritten Himmel.
Okay. So, as the appearance of sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw the colour of amber as the appearance of fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward. I saw, as it were, the appearance of fire, and it had the brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Okay, so when he falls up, so this revelation, when the clouds open, cause him to fall flat on his face, right?
Also diese Offenbarung, wenn die Wolken sich öffnen, das verursacht dann, dass er flach auf sein Angesicht fällt.
So, if we were to go to this illustration and the clouds are drawn back, Ezekiel was having a vision of the heavens, and he also saw the Lord sitting on his throne in the third heaven, right?
Also wenn wir nach dieser Darstellung gehen, dann hatte Ezekiel eine Vision von dem Himmel und also wo sich die Wolken geteilt haben von dem Himmel und auch von diesem Thron, dem dritten Himmel.
So, he's seeing through how many firmaments?
Also durch wie viele Firmamente sieht er?
2, right? He sees through this one and this one, right?
Durch das hier und das hier.
Right? Okay, so, and you'll see the correlation of this. Go to the next quote.
Und ihr werdet jetzt den Zusammenhang sehen, wenn wir zum nächsten Zitat gehen.
It says, the 6th chapter of Isaiah has a deep and important lesson for every one of God's workmen. Study it with humility and earnest prayer. The 1st and 2nd chapters of Ezekiel should also be carefully studied. So, we've looked at this before. Sister White parallels Ezekiel's vision with Isaiah's vision, right?
Wir haben uns das schon angeschaut. Bald setzt die Ezekiels Vision mit Jesajas Vision.
So, Ezekiel is on the earth, right?
Also Ezekiel ist auf der Erde.
But we understand, right, that the earth also includes the first heaven, right?
Und wir wissen aber auch, dass diese Erde auch diesen ersten Himmel mit einschließt.
We know that it represents the courtyard where you now want to separate yourself from the dark earth and you want to start walking your way towards heaven, right?
Und wir wissen, dass das eben diesen Vorhof darstellt, wo du jetzt dich trennen willst von dieser dunklen Erde und du fängst jetzt deinen Weg an zum Himmel.
So Ezekiel represents somebody that's, spiritually speaking, in this process, he was this weeping and mourning prophet, right?
Deswegen Hesekiel stellt jemanden dar, der jetzt geistig gesprochen in diesem Prozess ist und er war dieser weinende und klagende Prophet.
And suddenly the clouds are parted and he sees not only here, but he also sees through this firmament, he sees Christ on the throne, right?
Und plötzlich, da teilen sich die Wolken und dann sieht er nicht nur diesen Himmel, sondern auch Christus auf dem Thron.
Right? And we're to study this in relation to what?
Und wir müssen das studieren in Bezug auf was?
Isaiah's vision, right?
Jesajas Vision.
Okay, so let's go to the next quote.
Gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat.
When God was about to send Isaiah with a message to his people, he first permitted the prophet to look in vision into the Holy of Holies within the sanctuary. Suddenly, the gate and the inner veil of the temple seemed to be uplifted or withdrawn, and he was permitted to gaze within upon the Holy of Holies. Where was Isaiah?
Wo war Jesaja?
He's by the porch, right?
Also er war bei der Säulenhalle.
Right here, same place, right?
Also hier an demselben Ort.
So what did he see? How many veils were lifted?
Also wie viele Vorhänge wurden?
2, this one and this one.
Also dieser und dieser.
Because he was now permitted to see right into here,
Weil
right?
ihm wurde jetzt erlaubt, hier bis hierhin zu sehen.
Right? Now you see the correlation, why it's important that Ezekiel and Isaiah's vision are studied side by side, right?
Jetzt können wir den Zusammenhang sehen und warum das wichtig ist, dass Jesajas und Hesekiels Visionen zusammen studiert werden müssen.
It says, where even the prophet's feet might not enter, there rose before him a vision of Jehovah sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, while the train of his glory filled the temple. Around the throne were seraphim as guards about the great king, and they reflected the glory that surrounded them. They did what?
Was haben sie gemacht?
So, who are these cherubims?
Sie haben die Herrlichkeit reflektiert. Also wer sind diese
No, who
Cherubim?
are they?
Wer sind
The stars, right?
die Sterne?
They represent these stars reflecting the glory of God,
Sie
right?
stellen diese Sterne dar, die die Herrlichkeit Gottes reflektieren.
As their songs of praise resounded in deep notes of adoration, the pillars of the gate trembled as if shaken by an earthquake. With lips unpolluted by sin, these angels poured forth the praise of God. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, they cried. The whole earth is full of the glory of God. So where's that glory now emanating from?
Und woher kommt jetzt diese Herrlichkeit?
It's coming from here, right?
Sie kommt von hier.
Okay, so from the throne in heaven, there's glory and it's shining all the way down to the earth,
Also
right?
von dem Thron im Himmel, da ist die Herrlichkeit und sie scheint bis hinunter zur Erde.
Everybody see that?
Kann das jeder sehen?
Okay. It says, the seraphim around the throne are so filled with reverential awe as they behold the glory of God that they do not for an instant look upon themselves with admiration. Their praise is for the Lord of hosts. As they look into the future, when the whole earth shall be filled with his glory, the triumphant song is echoed from one to another in melodious chant. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. They are fully satisfied to glorify God, abiding in his presence beneath his smile of approbation. They wish for nothing more. In bearing his image, in doing his bidding, in worshipping him, their highest ambition is reached. So when you become a star here, what are the angels looking at you to do?
Also wenn du hier ein Stern wirst, was schauen dann die Engel dich an, was du tust?
You know, it tells you in that last sentence, I just read it.
Also im letzten Satz sagt es das.
In bearing his image, doing his bidding, and worshipping him, their highest ambition is reached. That's what they're looking to see if your highest ambition is reached, right?
Im letzten Satz sagt es das und die schauen dann dich an, ob auch deine höchsten Ambitionen erreicht werden.
Right? Because prior to going in here, what were you doing?
Und bevor du hier hereingekommen bist, was hast du getan? You're sighing and crying for deliverance from this body of sin, right? Du weinst und klagst für Befreiung von diesem Körper der Sünde.
Okay, so now the Lord has delivered you from the body of sin. What does he now expect from you?
Und jetzt hat der Herr dich befreit von dem Körper der Sünde und was erwartet er jetzt von dir?
Because you've wept and sighed and cried to get into this place, and now you're in there. What does he want from you?
Weil du hast jetzt geweint und geklagt, damit du hier reinkommen kannst und was will er jetzt von dir, wenn du...
He wants you to bear his image, do his bidding, and worshipping their highest ambition is reached. That should be our experience,
Also,
right?
dass du sein Ebenbild trägst und seine Aufträge erfüllst, ihn anbetest und dadurch ist das höchste Ziel erreicht.
Right? I mean, okay, at least that's what it illustrates, right?
Also das stellt es zumindest dar.
So, go to Psalm 19, verse 1. Now, we read this verse already this morning.
Also gehen wir zu Psalm 19, Vers 1. Den Vers haben wir heute Morgen schon gelesen.
It says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Right? So, it says, the heavens declare the glory. This is what Ezekiel and Isaiah see, the glory of God.
Das
Right?
sagt, die Himmel verkünden die Herrlichkeit Gottes. Das hat Ezekiel und Jesaja gesehen, die Herrlichkeit.
It's the revelation,
Das
right?
ist die Offenbarung.
Okay, we go to Psalm 50 and verse 6.
Gehen wir zu Psalm 50 und Vers 6.
It says, and the heavens shall declare his what?
Was werden sie verkünden?
His righteousness.
Seine
Right?
Gerechtigkeit.
For God is what?
Und Gott ist
Judge, right?
Richter,
It's when he's judging, right?
wenn richtet.
This is when he's going to give you that righteousness.
Und das ist, wenn dir diese Gerechtigkeit geben wird.
He's going to give you what you cannot obtain for yourself,
Er wird dir
right?
das geben, was du selbst nicht erhalten kannst.
In Psalm 97 and verse 6,
Psalm 97, Vers 6.
it says, the heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory, right? So you can see that his glory and his righteousness are the same thing.
Also wir können sehen, seine Herrlichkeit und seine Gerechtigkeit ist dasselbe.
So when the whole earth is filled with the glory of God, it's marking when God's people have on the wedding garment,
Also wenn
right?
die ganze Erde erfüllt ist mit der Herrlichkeit Gottes, markiert es, wenn Gottes Volk jetzt das Hochzeitsgewand anhaben.
Because the wedding garment is his righteousness,
Weil
right?
das Hochzeitsgewand ist seine Gerechtigkeit.
Right? And therefore, you're now at this point where you're running the race to reach this point, right?
Deswegen bist du dann an diesem Punkt und du rennst jetzt diesen Lauf, um diesen Punkt zu erreichen.
Right? And all the angels are watching you, and the evil angels are also watching you.
Und all die Engel, die schauen dir jetzt zu und auch die bösen Engel beobachten dich.
Because you're surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses,
Weil du
right?
bist jetzt umgeben von solch einer Wolke von Zeugen.
Okay, now go to Isaiah 66, verse 1.
Gehen wir zu Jesaja 66, Vers 1.
It says, thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my what?
Der Himmel ist mein was?
Throne,
Mein Thron.
and the earth is my
Und die Erde
footstool,
ist mein
right?
Fußschemel.
Okay. Where is the house that ye built unto me, and where is the place of my rest? Right? So it's an allegory, right?
Also das ist ein Gleichnis.
Because the Lord's feet are not really on the earth, right?
Weil die Füße des Herrn sind ja nicht wirklich auf der Erde,
But they are,
aber sie sind es.
okay? Because he's here, and this will say he's sitting in his throne, right? But it's trying to show you, because it says the Lord sitteth upon the what?
Und der sitzt eben dann hier auf seinem Thron und es sagt der Herr, der sitzt auf was?
The circle of the earth,
Auf dem
right?
Kreis der Erde.
So his throne is sitting on this earth,
Also
right?
sein Thron, der sitzt auf dieser Erde.
Says we did it again, the heaven is my throne, but the earth is his footstool,
Es sagt, der
right?
Himmel ist mein Thron und die Erde ist mein Fußschemel.
So when you're if this is his throne then, right?
Also wenn das hier sein Thron ist,
Okay, then his feet are somehow touching the earth, right?
dann berühren seine Füße irgendwie die Erde.
Prophetically speaking,
Prophetisch gesprochen.
right? And we'll see this, right?
Wir werden das sehen.
Go to 1 Chronicles 28 and verse 2.
Gehen wir zu 1. Chronik 28 und Vers 2.
It says, Then David the king stood up upon his feet and said, Hear me, my brethren, and my people. As for me, I had in mine heart to build an house of rest for the Ark of Covenant. So what's the place of his rest?
Also was ist der Ort seiner Ruhe?
Ein Haus.
Yeah, which house?
Das Haus.
The Most Holy.
The sanctuary, right? Speaking about the temple, right?
Also das Heiligtum, es spricht über den Tempel.
Okay, so I had in my heart to build a house, the temple, of rest for the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and for the footstool of our God. So in the temple, the footstool is illustrated.
Also im
Right.
Tempel ist auch der Fußschemel dargestellt.
Okay, the Bible must explain itself, and it says, Thy way, O Lord, is in the sanctuary,
Und
right?
die Bibel muss sich selbst erklären und es sagt, dein Weg, o Herr, ist im Heiligtum.
So, Psalm 132, verse 7.
Psalm 132, Vers 7.
Says, We will go into his tabernacles. We will worship at his footstool. Right, so we sing this song, sitting at the what? The feet of Jesus, right?
Also wir singen ja dieses Lied, an den Füßen Jesu sitzen.
What about Mary Magdalene?
Was war mit Maria Magdalena?
She's
She's sitting.
sitting at the feet of Jesus, right?
Sie saß an den Füßen Jesu.
Okay, so what's our prayer to be?
Und wie sollte unser Gebet sein?
As on earth,
So wie auf der Erde.
as it is in heaven, right?
Also so wie im Himmel, so soll es auch auf der Erde sein.
Okay, so go to Exodus 30 and verse 18.
Gehen wir zu 2. Mose 30 und Vers 18.
Thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass. Come on, who's paying attention?
Also wer ist aufmerksam?
It's like
Whose feet were burnished brass?
Wessen Füße?
No, we didn't mention that. That might be true, but that's not the cherubim, right?
Also die Füße von den Cherubim waren wie poliertes.
Remember, the Lord is up here, and what's he surrounded by?
Denkt daran, wenn der Herr erscheint, mit was, wenn der Herr hier oben ist, durch was ist er umgeben?
Surrounded by cherubim,
Er ist
right?
durch die Cherubim umgeben.
He had these 4 cherubim with their wings stretched out, and he's sitting upon the top of them, right?
Also es waren diese 4 Cherubim, deren Flügeln ausgestreckt waren und er saß über.
Right? Remember, at the end of the world, let's just do an illustration at the end of the world, right?
Also machen wir eine Darstellung vom Ende der Welt.
What's that?
Was ist das?
The what?
The Holy City on the
Yeah, the holy city sitting on the earth, right?
Also die heilige Stadt, die auf der Erde sitzt.
I mean, this is not small, it's huge, right?
Das ist ja nicht klein, sondern riesig.
Maybe not to that scale, but it's, you definitely have the earth and you will see this big cube sitting on the top of it, right?
Also vielleicht nicht in diesem Ausmaß, aber es wird auf jeden Fall ein großer Würfel sein, der auf dieser Erde sitzt.
So we read that those, what Ezekiel saw, he saw this,
Deswegen,
right?
was Hesekiel gesehen hat, er hat ja das hier gesehen.
He saw Christ on the throne above the cherubim,
Er
right?
hat Christus auf dem Thron gesehen, über den
The
Cherubim.
cherubim had their wings stretched, there was 4 of them, they made a square,
Und
right?
die Cherubim, die hatten ihre Flügel ausgestreckt und es waren 4 von ihnen, das war ein Viereck.
And their feet was as brass,
Und
right?
ihre Füße waren wie Bronze.
Right? So when the city comes down, here's his throne, right?
Also wenn die Stadt herunterkommt, hier ist ihr sein Thron.
Right? And the city is what's sitting on the earth,
Und
right?
die Stadt ist ja das, was auf der Erde sitzt.
And how many cherubim are marked on, with the city?
Und wie viele Cherubime sind da bei der Stadt markiert?
12,
Yes.
12.
right? There's 3 gates on each side, right?
Es gibt 3 Tore an jeder Seite.
Okay, so there was like 1, 2, 3 here, and then same on that side, same on that side, same on the other side, right?
Also es waren immer 3 Tore auf jeder Seite.
Okay, so let's try to follow the pattern, right?
Versuchen wir dem Muster zu folgen.
So this laver, right, is something that they were to wash in, right?
Also dieses Waschbecken, das war etwas, wo drin sie waschen sollten.
And it has a foot of brass,
Und es
right?
hat einen Fuß von Bronze.
And we read there, right, we will worship at his footstool, right?
Das sagt, wir haben gelesen, dass wir an seinem Fußschemel anbeten werden.
So I asked the question, when you come into the sanctuary, where do you worship?
Und ich habe die Frage gestellt, wenn man ins Heiligtum geht, wo betet man an?
What was the answer?
Was war die Antwort?
No, we're now going off on it. We're coming into the sanctuary now, right? Where in the sanctuary do you worship?
Also wenn wir ins Heiligtum kommen, wo im Heiligtum beten wir an?
Between the porch and the altar,
Zwischen
right?
der Säulenhalle und dem Altar.
What's between the, there's the porch, here's the porch, there's the altar. What's between the porch and the altar?
Also hier ist die Säulenhalle und hier ist der Altar. Und was ist zwischen der Säulenhalle und dem Altar?
The laver.
Also das Waschbecken.
Right. And what's on the laver?
Und was ist auf dem Waschbecken?
We just read it. What's the foot?
Also der Fuß.
The brass foot,
Dieser
Right.
bronzene Fuß.
right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why that's so. It doesn't matter. It seems like it's complicated, but it says, "Thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass, to wash withal. And thou shalt put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and thou shalt put water therein." What was the water for?
Also für was war das Wasser?
Yes. To wash for what purpose?
Also zu waschen, für welchen Zweck?
So you can go into the holy place,
Damit
right?
du in das Heilige eintreten konntest.
So, and the Bible teaches us that we're sanctified through the truth, or you're to wash by the water of the word, right?
Und das sagt, die Bibel sagt auch, wir sind geheiligt durch die Wahrheit oder gewaschen durch das Wasserbad im Wort.
Okay, and the foot washing, because they were to wash their feet in there, right?
Yes. Sie mussten ja hier ihre Füße waschen.
The foot washing does what?
Und was macht die Fußwaschung?
Prophetically speaking.
Prophetisch gesprochen.
What did Christ do at the foot washing?
Was hat Christus an der Fußwaschung getan?
Yes, he quickened you. It says the Holy Spirit comes and quickens you,
Es
right?
sagt, der Heilige Geist kommt und er erquickt dich.
That's marking this, he cleanses you, fills you with his Spirit, right?
Das markiert das, dass er dich reinigt und dich mit seinem Geist füllt.
Okay, unless you do what?
Es sei denn, dass du was tust.
Resist it,
Dass
right?
du dem widerstehst.
Judas resisted it, right?
Judas hat dem widerstanden.
Where was Isaiah when he saw the vision?
Und wo war Jesaja, wo er die Vision gesehen hat?
He was at the feet of Jesus, right?
Also er war in der Säulenhalle an den Füßen Jesu.
Right, he was being washed through the blood of the Lamb,
Er
right?
wurde durch das Blut des Lammes
It
gewaschen.
was the foot washing, it was the latter rain pouring out into his soul,
Es war
right?
die Fußwaschung, es war der Spätregen, der in seine Seele
Because
ausgegossen
the
wurde.
glory of God was going from here all the way into his heart,
Weil die
right?
Herrlichkeit Gottes kam von hier bis hinunter in sein Herz.
And it led him to
Und es hat ihn wohin geführt?
humble confession, right?
Demütiger Bekenntnis.
So he was now able to enter in, right?
Deswegen war er dann in der Lage einzutreten.
Are we following?
Können wir folgen?
Okay, so we see that if you come back to this illustration, right? The feet of Jesus would be here, right?
Deswegen, wenn wir zu dieser Darstellung zurückkommen, dann wären die Füße Jesu hier.
Right? Because this is, as Manuela said, this is the water, right?
Weil das sind die Wasser.
And it's the cherubim's feet that it's speaking about,
Und
right?
das sind die Füße der Cherubim, über das spricht.
Right? Okay, so when Christ at the feet of Jesus, it's through the cherubims. They're the ones that connect you from Him to the earth, right?
Also an den Füßen Jesu, das ist dann die Cherubime, weil sie verbinden dich dann mit dem Himmel auf der Erde.
Because on earth, when they worshipped at the feet of Jesus, He's representing His people at the end of the world,
Weil
right?
auf der Erde, wenn sie an den Füßen Jesu anbeten, dann stellen sie ja sein Volk auf der Erde dar.
And His people are to be like the angels,
Und
right?
sein Volk soll so wie die Engel sein.
Right? You're to be like the stars of heaven.
Du sollst wie die Sterne am Himmel sein.
So when the people come by God's grace and worship at your feet, they're worshipping at the feet of Jesus,
Und
right?
wenn die Leute kommen durch Gottes Gnade und dann an deinen Füßen anbeten, dann beten sie an den Füßen Jesu an.
Does it say that they'll all come and worship at your feet?
Sagt es, dass sie kommen werden und an deinen Füßen anbeten werden?
Yes, not a self-exaltation thing, right? It's illustrating something, right?
Ja, es ist keine Selbstverherrlichung, sondern das stellt dann etwas dar.
Okay, go to the next quote.
Gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat.
It says, in the past, Christ had been approached through forms and ceremonies, but now he was upon the earth, calling attention directly to himself, presenting a spiritual priesthood, and placing the sinful human agent at the footstool of mercy. When does he put mercy upon you?
Wann gibt er Gnade auf dich? Passes.
When he passes by. The revelation, right?
Wenn er vorüberzieht an der
That's where they are
Offenbarung.
right there, by the laver, when the revelation comes,
Sie
right?
sind ja genau da bei diesem Waschbecken, wenn die Offenbarung kommt.
So that laver is these clouds, right?
Also dieses Waschbecken sind diese Wolken.
And so what are they doing?
Was machen sie?
They're pouring out water upon you, right? It's the latter rain,
Sie
right?
gießen das Wasser über dir aus, das ist der Spätregen.
And they're washing you clean,
Und
right?
sie waschen dich rein.
But where does this water come from?
Aber woher kommt dieses Wasser?
Follow the illustration.
Folgt der Darstellung.
From the throne.
From the throne,
Von
right?
dem Thron.
It says in there that out from the underneath the throne comes this water of life, right?
Also es sagt ja unter dem Thron kommt dieses Wasser des Lebens hervor.
And there's this illustration, it shows you many times the Father sends light to whom?
Und das ist diese Darstellung, die man sehr oft sehen kann. Der Vater, der sendet wem das Licht?
To Christ. And then Christ puts the light to the people,
Und
right?
dann gibt Christus das Licht dem Volk.
Right? So the light comes from the throne to those that represent Christ and then to the people, right?
Also das Licht kommt von dem Thron und zu denen, die Christus darstellen und dann zum Volk.
Right? Everybody see that? Because this is the feet of Jesus, right?
Also das sind eben die Füße Jesu.
Okay, so go now to Revelation 1 and verse 12, because John's vision is also Ezekiel and Isaiah's vision, right?
Gehen wir jetzt zur Offenbarung 1 und Vers 12, weil Johannes Vision ist ja auch Hesekiels und Jesajas Vision.
Verses 12 to 17.
Verse 12 bis 17.
And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were like the wool, and as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. And his feet like unto what?
Seine
Fine
Füße
brass,
wie feine Bronze.
as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. So, Sister White says this is the second coming, right?
Und Ellen White sagt, das ist die Wiederkunft.
But Christ didn't physically come to John, right?
Christus kam nicht physisch zu Johannes.
Why not?
Warum nicht?
Because he's in the sanctuary,
Weil er im
right?
Heiligtum ist.
So how did he come to John?
Wie kam er zu Johannes?
Through the angels,
Durch
right?
die Engel.
It's just always shown a mighty angel comes down. A mighty angel represents Christ,
Es
right?
sagt, dass dieser mächtige Engel herunterkam und der mächtige Engel stellt Christus dar.
Okay, so through the angels, this is how he receives this vision, right?
Also durch die Engel erhält er diese Vision.
So the angels are reflecting Christ, right?
Und die Engel reflektieren Christus.
The angels also have feet like burnished brass,
Und die Engel haben auch Füße wie polierte Bronze.
right? So, and his voice as the sound of many waters, and he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. It's the same illustration, right?
Und das ist dieselbe Darstellung, Vers 17.
Right? Because John is seeing the whole of the holy and most holy place, right?
Weil Johannes hat eben das Ganze vom Heiligen und Allerheiligsten gesehen.
Same as Isaiah. Isaiah saw from here all the way through to here, and Ezekiel sees from here all the way up to here.
Dasselbe
Right.
wie Jesaja, er hat von hier bis hier gesehen und Hesekiel von hier bis hier.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Go to Zechariah 14 and verse 1.
Gehen wir zu Sacharja 14 und Vers 1.
It says, Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall move toward the north, and half of it toward the south. So what do we see here?
Was können wir hier sehen?
We see Christ coming down and putting his feet, right, on the Mount of Olives.
Also wir sehen, wie Christus herunterkommt und er setzt seine Füße auf den Ölberg.
And where is the Mount of Olives?
Und wo ist der Ölberg?
It says it in there, verse 14. Where is it?
Wo ist der? In Vers 4 sagt es.
It's on the east,
Er ist
Right.
im Osten.
right here, the east.
Also hier im Osten.
He puts his foot down. This is the earth, right?
Also er setzt seine Füße ab und das ist eben die Erde.
And when he puts his foot on the Mount of Olives, what happens?
Wenn er seinen Fuß auf den Ölberg setzt, was geschieht?
Sorry?
Divided.
Yeah,
Es wird
okay.
getrennt.
What is divided?
An was
What
ist
does it say?
getrennt?
The north and the south,
Der
right?
Norden und der Süden.
The mountain is a symbol of this wicked kingdom on the earth, right?
Dieser Berg ist ein Symbol für dieses böse Königreich auf der Erde.
It separates north and south,
Und
right?
das trennt dann Nord und Süd.
Okay, it's just like when they crossed the Red Sea,
Das
right?
ist genauso wie wo sie das Rote Meer überquert haben.
Okay, the east wind is what goes right down the middle from the east to the west,
Der
right?
Ostwind ist ja der durch die Mitte hindurch geht vom Osten bis zum Westen.
And the waves separate north and south, right?
Und die Wellen, die trennen sich dann zum Norden und zum Süden.
It's marking a point where the Lord now is coming to fight for you,
Das
right?
markiert jetzt den Punkt, wenn der Herr kommt und für dich kämpft.
It's the deliverance,
Es
right?
ist die Befreiung.
So it marks this point that north and south get separated, you get delivered and you enter into the kingdom.
Das
Right?
markiert diesen Punkt, wenn Norden und Süden getrennt werden. Das markiert die Befreiung und du trittst jetzt in den Himmel ein.
Because you're going from east to
West.
west,
Du
right?
gehst vom Osten bis zum Westen.
Right? Now you see that?
Kann es jeder sehen?
Okay. Right. So go now to Daniel 7 and verse 9.
Gehen wir zu Daniel 7 und Vers 9.
It says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. So he's sitting on his throne, right?
Er sitzt auf seinem Thron.
Whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. So what was on the throne?
Was war auf dem Thron?
Wheels, right?
Also da gab es diese Räder.
Okay. So, okay, let's put this in place. Let's go to this next quote.
Gehen wir zu dem nächsten Zitat.
It says, upon the banks of the river Sheba, Ezekiel beheld a whirlwind seeming to come from the north, a great cloud and a fire unfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the colour of amber, a number of wheels, intersecting one another, were moved by 4 living beings. High above all these was the likeness of a throne. So what you have is the wheel, then you have the cherubims, and then you have the throne, right?
Also was man hat, ist also die Räder, dann die Cherubim und dann darüber der Thron.
And what I want you to understand, this is this. There's the wheel,
Und ich möchte, dass wir verstehen, dass es hier eben dieses Rad
there's the cherubims with their feet on the earth,
und hier sind die Cherubim mit ihren Füßen auf der Erde
and there's the throne above the cherubim,
und hier ist der Thron über den Cherubim.
right? Okay, and you'll see this now, right? It says,
Wir werden das jetzt sehen.
high above all these was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And there appeared in the cherubims the form of a man's hand under their wings. The wheels were so complicated in arrangement that at first sight they appeared to be in confusion, but they moved in perfect harmony. Heavenly beings, sustained and guided by the hand beneath the wings of the cherubim, were impelling these wheels. Above them, upon the sapphire throne, was the Eternal One, and round about the throne a rainbow, the emblem of divine glory. As the wheel-like complications were under the guidance of the hand beneath the wings of the cherubim, so the complicated play of human events is under divine control. What are the wheels?
Was sind die Räder?
Complicated play of human events,
Die
right?
komplizierten Ereignisse von Menschen. Nee.
Where are the complicated play of human events taking place?
Also wo findet das komplizierte Zusammenspiel der menschlichen Ereignisse statt?
On the earth,
Auf
right?
der Erde.
Amidst the strife and tumult of nations. That's what's taking place here, right?
Dieser Streit und Tumult der Nationen, das findet hier statt.
He that sitteth above the cherubim still guides the affairs of the earth. So he's guiding the wheels, right?
Also er führt diese Räder.
Right. Then it says, the history of nations that one after another have occupied their allotted time and place, unconsciously witnessing to the truth of which they themselves knew not the meaning, speaks to us, to every nation and to every individual of today. God has assigned a place in His great plan. Today men and nations are being measured by the plummet in the hand of Him who makes no mistake. All are by their own choice deciding their destiny, and God is overruling all for the accomplishment of His purposes. The circle of the earth that He sits upon is the wheels, right?
Also dieser Kreis der Erde, auf dem er sitzt, das sind die Räder.
Right? And north, south, east and west, which these wheels go, are representing the earth, right?
Norden, Süden, Ost und West, wo diese Räder hingehen, das stellt die Erde dar.
Right? It's showing that this illustration is showing that God is in control and He's controlling everything that goes on this earth.
Und diese Darstellung zeigt, dass Gott eben in Kontrolle ist und er kontrolliert alles, was auf dieser Erde geschieht.
Okay, so after Isaiah saw that vision, what did it do for him?
Und nachdem Jesaja diese Vision gesehen hat, was hat das für ihn gemacht?
What was the purpose of that vision?
Was war der Zweck dieser Vision?
Yes, that's one point, but that's not what we're speaking about here. Apart from that's true, but apart from that, what was also the purpose of the vision?
Um ihm die Sünde zu zeigen und ihn in den Staub zu demütigen, aber davon abgesehen, was war auch noch der Zweck?
When the
Fit him up to-
No, I
okay,
translate.
sorry. Say that again, Lawrence.
To fit him up for his mission.
Yeah, okay, to fit him up but how was it fitting him up for his mission?
Ihn vorzubereiten für seine Mission und wie hat es ihn darauf vorbereitet?
Give him confidence that God is in control.
Yes, what he saw, he never forgot,
Also
right?
es hat ihm Zuversicht gegeben in Gott und deswegen das, was er gesehen hat, das hat er nie wieder vergessen.
He had such boldness and confidence after seeing this vision,
Er
right?
hatte so Zuversicht und Standhaftigkeit, nachdem er diese Vision gesehen hat.
That there's nothing that can happen on here that he's not in control,
Dass
right?
Nichts, was hier geschieht, dass er nicht dort auch in Kontrolle ist.
Right? Okay, so we're running out of time, but I'll just go to 1 Kings 7, right?
Geht zu 1. Könige 7,
It says,
Vers 23.
verse 23, and he made a molten sea, right? So this is this big, in Solomon's temple, they had this big molten sea that was in the courtyard, right?
Also in Salomos Tempel, da hatten sie dieses große Waschbecken im Vorhof.
Right? In verse 25,
Vers 25.
and it stood upon 12 oxen, right?
Und es stand auf 12 Ochsen.
3 oxen on one side, 3 on another, 3 on another, 3 on another, right?
Also 3 Ochsen auf der jeweiligen Seite.
And they were facing north, south, east, and west,
Und sie
right?
haben auf Norden, Süden, Osten und Westen geblickt.
Right? Okay, these are these cherubims, right, that the Lord is sitting on,
Das
right?
sind diese Cherubim, auf denen der Herr sitzt.
And that laver, what was the purpose of that big laver?
Und was war der Zweck von diesem großen Waschbecken?
Right, go to verse 30.
Gehen wir zu Vers 30.
It says, and every base had 4 brazen wheels, and plates of brass, and the 4 corners thereof had undersetters under the laver, were undersetters molten at the side of every addition. Okay, so just to cut things short, these are these 10 smaller lavers.
Um den jetzt abzukürzen, das waren diese 10 kleineren Waschbecken.
And the 10 smaller lavers had wheels,
Und diese 10 kleineren Waschbecken hatten auch Räder.
and you were to wheel them up to this big laver, and out of the mouth of these oxen came the water, right?
Und du solltest sie dann hinschieben zu diesem großen Waschbecken und aus dem Mund dieser Ochsen kam dann das Wasser.
What do we see?
Und was können wir sehen?
Where were the wheels?
Wo waren die Räder?
We're on his throne, right?
Auf seinem Thron.
Right? And yet the wheels here are on these 10 levers, but you have this big lever was sitting upon these cherubim, right?
Und diese Räder waren aber bei diesen kleineren Waschbecken und
It's an allegory.
Das Waschbecken war auf das große Waschbecken war auf
Ah.
den Ochsen.
okay, das
I
große
can't-
Waschbecken.
I've got time to draw it, right?
Also ich habe jetzt keine Zeit, das zu zeichnen.
But the point is that the big brass lever was to feed the 10 smaller ones,
Also
right?
dieses große bronzene Waschbecken sollte die kleineren Waschbecken speisen.
So the light comes from the Father to whom?
Also das Licht kommt vom Vater zu wem?
To those that represent Christ,
Zu
right?
denjenigen, die Christus darstellen
On earth.
auf der Erde.
Because the wheels are on there, and the wheels is what's on the earth,
Weil
right?
die Räder sind eben darunter und die Räder sind diejenigen, die auf der Erde sind.
Right? So, I don't know this fully yet, but it says there that they are, verse 33,
Also Vers 32.
the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel, right?
Das das Werk des Rats war wie von einem Streitwagen.
And it says that for a reason, right?
Das sagt es aus einem Grund.
So last thoughts. Go to 2 Kings chapter 2.
Letzte Gedanken, gehen wir zu 2. Könige 2.
So what I want you to see is that the great laver is the glory in heaven.
Also was ich möchte, dass wir sehen, ist, dass dieses große Waschbecken ist die Herrlichkeit im Himmel.
That's the glory coming from here,
Das ist die
right?
Herrlichkeit, die von hier kommt.
And it comes down to those that are representing Christ and it fills their lavers,
Und es
right?
kommt zu denjenigen, die Christus darstellen, und es füllt ihre Waschbecken.
And they're the ones on the earth washing the people. They're at because the laver is the feet of Jesus,
Und sie
right?
sind diejenigen auf der Erde, die dann diese Leute waschen, weil das Waschbecken stellt ja die Füße Jesu dar.
And they wash others so that they can also enter into the holy place,
Und sie
right?
waschen dann die anderen, damit sie auch eintreten können in das Heilige.
They represent the ministers that are baptizing other people,
Sie
right?
stellen diese Prediger dar, die dann andere Leute taufen.
Everybody see that?
Kann das jeder
Okay,
sehen?
wonderful, right? So, 2 Kings chapter 2,
2. Könige 2,
verse 11.
Vers 11.
And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. How did he go up?
Wie ging herauf?
By a whirlwind,
Durch
right?
einen Wirbelsturm.
What did Ezekiel see?
Was hatte Ezekiel gesehen?
A whirlwind, right?
Einen Wirbelsturm.
It's the same vision,
Das ist
right?
dieselbe Vision.
But yet Elijah here is going up to heaven in a chariot and horses,
Aber
right?
Elia geht jetzt in den Himmel mit einem Streitwagen und Pferden.
And I want to suggest the chariot and horses as the clouds,
Und ich
right?
möchte vorschlagen, dass der Streitwagen und die Pferde diese Wolken sind.
Because the angels here, this is the smaller wash basin,
Weil die Engel, also das wäre jetzt dieses kleinere Waschbecken.
this is the big wash basin.
Das ist dieses große Waschbecken.
The light comes from here to here, and this gives water on the earth,
Also
right?
das Licht kommt von hier bis hier und das hier gibt Wasser auf der Erde.
This is his chariot,
Das ist sein Streitwagen.
because this is what he went up to heaven and came down from heaven, right?
Weil da ist er ja in den Himmel aufgefahren und damit ist er auch heruntergefahren.
Because his throne had wheels on it, right?
Weil sein Thron hatte Räder an sich.
It's a chariot,
Das
right?
ist ein Streitwagen.
Okay, and now just go to, oh, they got mixed up. Go to Jeremiah 22 and verse 4. It's just right underneath 2 Kings. They're joined together.
Gehen wir zu Jeremia 22 und Vers 4, das ist gleich darunter im Englischen.
It says, For if you do this thing indeed, then there shall enter in by the gates of this house kings sitting upon the throne of David. David's throne, whose throne does it represent?
Also Davids Thron, wessen Thron stellt es dar?
Christ's throne, right?
Christi Thron.
Sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, right? See the correlation?
Können wir den Zusammenhang sehen?
Okay, go to Zechariah chapter 6, we'll just finish off.
Gehen wir zu Sacharja 6,
Verse 1.
Vers 1.
And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. In the first chariot were red horses, in the second chariot black horses, in the third chariot were white horses, in the fourth chariot grizzled and bay horses. These are these cherubims, right, in which the Lord is sitting upon,
Das
right?
sind diese Cherubim, auf denen der Herr sitzt.
Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, What are these, my Lord? And the angel answered and said to me, These are the 4 spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. Right? North, south, east, and west.
Norden,
Right?
Süden, Osten und Westen.
Okay, they're the 4 winds that are being held by these ministers on the earth.
Das sind
Right?
die 4 Winde, die gehalten werden durch diese Diener auf der Erde.
Okay, it says in Zechariah 4 and verse 14,
In Sacharja 4, Vers 14 sagt es,
These are the 2 anointed ones which stand by the Lord of all the earth. So it represents God's people, the anointed ones,
da
right?
stellt Gottes Volk da, die Gesalbten.
Okay, there's these chariots.
Das
Right
sind
here.
diese Streitwagen, das hier.
They are the ones that's going throughout the earth, putting the water upon the earth,
Die sind
right?
diejenigen, die durch die Erde hindurchgehen und das Wasser auf die Erde geben.
Right, you become these witnesses
Du wirst zu diesen Zeugen,
because the clouds is a witness, right?
weil diese Wolke ist ein Zeuge.
Last verse, Ezekiel 1 and verse 20.
Letzter Vers, Hesekiel 1 und Vers 20.
It says, Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. The spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Right? So the wheels within the wheels represents the work of the Holy Spirit, guiding the affairs of the nations, controlling every living element that's going on upon this earth. Right?
Also die Räder in den Rädern, das stellt der Heilige Geist dar, die diese ganzen Ereignisse, also jedes Element, was auf der Erde stattfindet, und diese ganzen Ereignisse der Nationen kontrollieren.
Right? First comes the natural, followed by the spiritual, right?
Zuerst kommt das Natürliche, gefolgt vom Geistlichen.
So this is just a theoretical knowledge, right?
Das ist nur ein theoretisches Verständnis.
This is a head knowledge.
Das ist ein Kopfwissen.
Where does this knowledge need to be?
Wo muss dieses Wissen sein?
In your heart, right?
In unseren Herzen.
This, brothers and sisters, needs to be revealed to us in such a depth that it will break these flinty hearts of ours, right?
Und das, Geschwister, muss uns in so einer Tiefe offenbart werden, dass es diese harten Herzen von uns brechen wird.
Then we can enter in here and do this work,
Und
right?
dann können wir hier eintreten und dieses Werk tun.
Amen?
Amen.
Okay, let's close with prayer.
Lass uns mit Gebet abschließen.
Dear Heavenly Father,
Lieber himmlischer Vater,
we thank you that you help us to understand and bring together these different chapters and illustrations.
wir danken dir, dass du uns hilfst, diese ganzen verschiedenen Darstellungen und Kapitel zu verstehen und zusammenzubringen.
And I pray that you will help us to remember these points.
Und ich bete, dass du uns hilfst, uns an diese Dinge zu erinnern.
Please help us to also understand the spiritual understanding of it.
Und bitte hilf uns auch, die geistliche Anwendung davon zu verstehen.
And I pray that it would be our first priority to understand all the truth.
Und ich bete, dass unsere erste Priorität wird, dass wir die Wahrheit verstehen.
And I pray that you also help that through this light that you give us, that it will draw us closer to you.
Und ich möchte auch beten, dass durch das Licht, was du uns gibst, dass es uns näher zu dir zieht.
And I pray that you bless us this day in our things that we need to do and that we would contemplate upon these topics.
Und ich bete, dass du uns segnest in den Dingen, die wir heute zu tun haben und dass wir über diese Themen nachdenken.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Amen.